mics are not good.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Hope your day's going well. I'm Ben Sprango. I am the head of strategy at Solana Labs. Here for an awesome panel with some of our regional ecosystem funds to talk about investing in the Solana ecosystem and broader space regionally across the world. So one of the goals that we set out to do about 6 to 12 months ago was we felt that Solana needed a broad reach into other parts of the world, and instead of hiring in each jurisdiction around the world, it was best to partner with people who were already there, had boots on the ground, and had the connections necessary to invest in those ecosystems efficiently. So that led to us setting up these regional ecosystem funds where we co-sponsor a fund with them, co-invest on every deal, and share in the diligence. So I'm joined by some of those guys here today, and I'll start with you, and we'll just run through some introductions.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Josh Han. I'm representing ROK Capital, based in Seoul, Korea. We bring a lot of BD help, marketing, go-to-market strategy, and community management services. We also run Korea Blockchain Week. So yeah, happy to be here.
Hey guys, I'm Bill Sherman. I'm co-founder of Solid Eco Fund. We invest across the spectrum from DeFi, gaming, NFTs, and Web3. We have over 20 projects already in our portfolio, so we're very active. Of course, we invest across the globe, but we're based in Brazil and in Israel, so we're always helpful with LATAM and Middle Eastern issues.
Hi guys, my name is John Park. I'm representing 841 Ventures as a managing partner, and we're focused on the early stage investment only, but our expertise is at community building and also supporting the grassroots organizations like student clubs in Korea and also the dev groups in Korea.
Hi, I'm Arthur Kwan, founder of Evernew Capital. We're based out of Taiwan, and we recently launched a Solana ecosystem fund with Solana, launched in July. So it's a $20 million fund, and we're backing seeds, private stage companies that want to access Taiwan's market, which is positioned as really one of the few Mandarin-speaking countries that have a really strong and vibrant developer community. So that's how we like to help our projects.
Thanks, guys. Also, before we get started, I want to note that this is supposed to be a Q&A panel, so there are people on both sides of the seats here. So you can walk up to them, please raise your hand. They have microphones where you can ask questions, and then we'll get to those questions in a few minutes. But Josh, just starting with you, so I would love to dive in to each of you individually. Based on your jurisdiction around the world, how has investing in the Solana ecosystem been there in comparison to what you've seen elsewhere, and maybe diving into some of the challenges and benefits of what you've seen in comparison?
Yeah, so definitely creates a new user to Solana, I'd say. We came recently in the last 2 months, and if you look at a lot of our community management numbers, I think Orca, Radium, their numbers in Korea are going up drastically. So really, really happy about that. We're not sending them to a centralized exchange. The biggest exchange up it recently listed Sol as well, SPL. So we're getting a lot of people through that withdrawing and getting to actually use the dApps. So yeah.
Very cool. So the fact that the centralized exchanges in your jurisdiction implementing SPL support is a large onboarding factor to the Solana ecosystem?
Absolutely huge. Just because you need the Korean won onboarding, offboarding fiat, and once you have that, you don't really need people to buy all coins necessarily. They only need to buy Sol and then withdraw to Phantom. And then we're seeing a lot of improvements on that. And I'm personally really happy to see and send Korean people to use our portfolio companies as well as earn interest on their assets.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Bill?
I can say in Brazil we have a huge crypto community. It's a country with 200 million people. Only 3 million invest in the stock market and 50 million have crypto. So it's a very large market. Certainly a problem that some projects have there is banking. And what we usually recommend is simply to not bank and just have crypto. And especially now with Solana, you can pay our employees with almost zero fees.
That's awesome. So have you seen a lack of investment in other applications on crypto rails since like the focus has primarily in Brazil been banking related, or is there also a community of things that we're all used to like Web3, NFTs, other things like that?
Brazil is very used to copying American things that have already worked and doing like local versions. And the largest startups in Brazil are that. And certainly, for example, the biggest Brazilian project is BRZ, which is the Brazilian version of USDC. I can say, for example, for our fund, we love to invest more in Brazil, but there are very few projects, so we invest across the globe for that other reason.
Awesome.
Yeah, like I think I agree a lot with what Josh has said, but so centralized exchanges enlisting Solana definitely spearheaded like a lot of the community movement inside Korea. But at the same time, I would like to emphasize the point that Solana Season Hackathon and Solana Ignition Hackathons were actually the big attractors for a lot of the Korean devs from moving from the Solidity to actually Rust and like actually try out. For instance, 841 has been sponsoring the Korea Rust Dev Group, which has like 40 engineers inside it, and we're sponsoring them venues, food and drinks, and so that I could actually gather and like come out to hackathons. So for example, like for Ignition Hackathon, we had about 3 teams that came out from Solana, from Korea to Solana Ignition Hackathon. Like they all made to like judges list, and one of them actually won the prize actually. So it was very amazing because all these developers were not really used to Rust, but they slowly started learning about Solana after they see the global hackathon announcements. And I think Solana like Foundation itself has been doing a good job in terms of like getting that global exposure to devs. Like, oh, why don't you actually start building on Solana, right? So I think that's a very good movement and signal for the ecosystem, so that like ecosystem builders and community builders like me could actually push it forward inside Korea or inside Asia.
Right. You actually bring up something I'd love to touch on really quick is like the Rust community globally and in your own jurisdiction. So one of the biggest challenges that we had in the earlier days was the majority of the developers in crypto are Solidity based. So I would love to hear from you what it's been like to help cultivate that Rust community in your own jurisdiction, and how that is leading to the projects that you guys are allocating to in there.
So like when cultivating like a dev group, it is really hard if you just start from the scratch. But like when they have a goal, when they have objective, it's actually easier for them to actually get the like fervor to actually start doing something. If we didn't have a hackathons, and if I just created like a Rust dev group with like other guys and like sponsor that, like probably 10 or 5 people will just show up and they'll be like, oh, I don't know anything about Rust, so like, can you teach me? But it's not gonna happen that way. It's all about like self-learning. All the devs are all into self-learning, right? And in order to like have that self-learning, you gotta have motivation. And that motivation, I think Solana has done a great job in terms of like just giving that like opportunities to put your products, like ship it like in front of the global public and like get the feedbacks from the global judges. So yeah, so cultivating a dev group is always a problem like for every other ecosystem too, but I would definitely recommend the track of going with like global hackathons and like moving with your ambassadors in the region, or like the people who have been supporting the region like for so long. I've been supporting Solana since like 2018-19, right? So like find those people, just work with them, like sponsor them, like support them so that they can actually move with like local people. Then that's it. Like that's the way to go to cultivate the group.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that the hackathons are doing what we intended.
Yeah.
Arthur, please.
Sure, yeah. I mean, similar. I mean, I think in Taiwan, the Rust developer community that also wants to do blockchain is pretty small. But we have been focusing on cultivating and training new Rust developers with, for example, Z Institute, a blockchain school in Taiwan. So our plan is to continuously train hundreds of developers building on Rust and Solana every year. And I think that's really a scarce asset these days. Just good developers who could really scale and execute well. That's going to be so helpful to all these projects within our jurisdiction, also without. Everyone I speak to are hiring developers, right? So we hope to have some QC and quality control around like high quality devs. And I think that could scale globally, right? So that's been one of our main focus in Taiwan. The other thing is also, we realize that in addition to developers, you need good founders and good CEOs, right? It's really about building a project and thinking of it as building a company. You need good engineering support, marketing, the whole package. And so we may also start to incubate projects next year out of these strong developer groups that we're training, right? And also just on stage, I think there are lots of opportunities to cross-fertilize in different jurisdictions as well, because ultimately it's a global play, right?
Right, absolutely. From what you've seen, where would you say everyone needs developers? From what you've seen beyond developers, what do people need in Taiwan for these projects that they're spinning up? If they're very developer heavy, who are they looking for and where are they finding them?
Yeah, I think dev's number one, and I think also just the right type of marketing support, the right channel, the right type of messaging. It's a fine line, I mean, a lot of it is narrative these days, but you could easily overhype up a project, right? So finding the right type of marketing support, I think, is so crucial. I think the other aspect also is finding the right, because not all developers are good CEOs, right? And I think the Taiwan market is currently lacking kind of strong CEOs who could scale globally, right? So, we either have to identify them, train them, or find partners in other jurisdictions to work on that together.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I can't really see out there, but are there any questions?
Could I add briefly to what Arthur was saying?
Huh?
Could I add briefly
Sure.
to
Please.
what Arthur was saying? So like Arthur is visiting Korea soon. I think we're going to meet up and we're going to talk about how to collaborate too because of the geographical proximity. But at the same time, I kind of agree with what Arthur says because not just us, like I wouldn't say that devs are like not good CEOs, but like at the same time, a lot of the people who are joining the ecosystem right now are not used to the pace of like how the company is formed and like how the fund is raised and like how you have to move really, really fast like in terms of like recruiting and like, you have to deal with all these money that has just come in, like huge stockpile of cash. It's sitting on your bank account. You have to use it, like, how to do it properly, how to manage the relationship with the VCs or investors. There are so many people who are nowadays who are just thinking that VCs don't add values or like whatever, but like, it could be just one of the atmosphere, but at the same time, you need to like learn who's just like who's going to be the good investors, what are the characteristics of the good investors, and who are the marketing agents that you want to work with, and like these are the types of like things that you need to know as like good CEOs, right? So like that's the part that if there is anything that foundation could do, like I know the Solana Ventures is coming out from the foundation, so that could be one of the helps for a lot of the regional ecosystem as well, because of the geographical like distance, it is really important for like some kind of documentation or some kind of tutorial that's being given out from the foundation is going to be essential for all these builders to have more safe zone, I guess, like to feel more comfortable, like to feel more comfortable in terms of like building out and shipping in the product to the global stage.
Right. Awesome. And would you say, kind of staying with like the receiving investments from other investors? I mean, there's a mantra that goes around Twitter often that's like VCs dumping on people or VCs just getting into these deals early to make a lot of money. What is, for each of you, what are the perceptions in your own jurisdiction of VCs, either in your country or globally in the crypto space?
Yeah, I mean, Korea's home to like, I would say 2 big Korean like crypto VCs, including Hashed. And in terms of like Solana specific like TGEs, so I'm personally a fan of like the IDO model that Mango Markets kind of like started, and I think a lot of companies or a lot of tokens are going towards that. And from my perspective, what I see from the Solana Korean community, they like that, right? It seems more fair than like buying some type of like IDO platform token, staking it. It's a lot more simple as well, and you have some capability there where you can like take out your funds after 24 hours. So from our perspective, we think like just connecting like the VC research and like, hey, this is why we support the project. We love it as users, and like having them use it first before they buy like the actual governance token makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. One thing that I think all founders need to have in mind is that crypto is very reflexive with users and price. So users bring price, and price also bring users. And one example of that going badly, many projects that are not having cliffs to their investors. And many times what happens is on the first day you have a huge drop in price. And that leads to super negative press. That leads to users being pissed. That if you raise $100 million in an IDO and the price goes down, you have $100 million worth of people mad at you, right?
Yeah.
So what we always advise project is have a cliff, have the unlock further away from the launch. And you saw, for example, a good example is Solana itself. You had the unlock day, but it was like a year after the investment. So the day of the unlock, it was like no one even knew about it because it was far away. So that would be a general advice. Always have a cliff.
I mean, like as an investor, I mean, who was a community builder before, I guess a lot of the things that what VCs could do for builders could come from like experiences, like sharing experiences, like what I've done before and like what I've seen as an investor, like what were the more appropriate range of the valuation when you're doing a seed round, like when you're kicking off for like such a hyper valued like valuation, what kind of consequences can you actually see, and especially in the Solana ecosystem. A lot of the fundraise right now is a very experimental, and also like I think it's important to have like the mindset that we as an investors, we are also experimenting together. I mean like when you're doing capped like mega market style like auction or uncapped mega market style like auction, all these kind of options, we're still seeing a lot of the experiments being done. We don't know what the consequences are going to be there for yet because we're still seeing these projects that are working on like progressing so far. Like so far so good, but some projects have actually sunk after they've done like uncapped style of auction too. So a lot of the experiences should be shared among the from the investors to the builders. That's what we believe. And on our side, on our jurisdiction in Korea, a lot of the retail investors actually do rely on like credible writing sources they could actually follow on, such as tutorials, which is what we've been providing as an investor. So I think it's really important for like a lot of the VCs who are we're not the mega VCs with the brand power. Then I think it's important for the VCs to actually like or investors to give those kind of tutorials, those kind of like what kind of values actually do these projects actually give to the retail investors or even the users. I think those are the really important values that VCs can add, not to just the projects, but to actually the users that projects actually need. So, and liquidity provision is just one of the things that investors could do. But all these other soft areas that are outside of the investment should be like filled by the investors. That's how I feel it, and that's how I've been doing.
I just want to go a tiny bit deeper there. So one thing that I've been seeing also on like the Solana Ventures side is a lot of the people who are coming and starting projects in the Solana ecosystem are relatively unaware of like how to structure a token distribution or how to do the fundraising that we all just mentioned. And that kind of leads to the question of who are we seeing enter the Solana ecosystem? Are we seeing people who've been in crypto for a long time and have been around the block and seen the DeFi explosion on Ethereum and are educated, or are these actually net new people coming into the Solana ecosystem and building for the first time?
I think it's a good mix. But I've seen a lot of like for Ignition Hackathon, I've seen so many new people who are coming in. For Season Hackathon, I think it was more of like a mixed population. The best crowd that I've encountered so far is the new face, but who have actually like studied a lot, what has happened during the DeFi summer, what has happened like during the crypto winter, what were the failures like, and how the failures started to take place, when every investor was backing like a certain project and the project was getting all these attention from the world, but they ended up like not carrying it or not shipping it because of like ABC, these kind of reasons. Like, if you're a builder and even if you're new to the space, if you do like study it right, I think you're gonna make it. Like, yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah. But we see a lot of new faces. Yeah.
Anyone else comment on net new users or?
We're seeing still a lot of conversions from other ecosystems over to Solana. They've experienced multiple ecosystems and feel like, hey, the Rust environment is still one of the better ones to build on. Right? I think the cheaper gas is a huge opportunity for Solana right now. I think it's just too expensive, elsewhere on other chains at this moment, and that's a main driver for many projects that I'm seeing. And certainly there are newer projects coming on board who've never been in crypto, and I think the challenges they have is really navigating the whole kind of landscape and narrative, right? So they typically need a little bit more marketing support on just navigating that aspect, right?
Yeah. Do you think that it's prudent for us to make tutorials and like very detailed docs for these people, or is this more of like a relationship building, one-on-one? Here's how everything works. Here's what needs to be fixed. Here's where we're going.
I think it makes sense. I mean, I think either Solana could do it, or I think VC's job, could also be that as well, or incubators, right?
Yeah.
Partnering earlier. One of the issues as a VC is you're really just selecting the best projects, but there's like one step before that where how do you train these best projects, right? And they could be self-selecting, right? But I do think that there's some value in that earlier stage incubation phase now.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, I think Solana presents a lot of opportunities just because gas fees are so insanely cheap, where it's like, hey, maybe you never did a liquidity provision on ETH, but now you can do it for less than with less than $10. What I'm also seeing is like new users are coming in through NFTs, right? Like people who are never really interested in crypto, they see stuff like drop mints on Radium, or they see Sol analysis like we've been talking to, and they see a lot more opportunity coming in there and have like a little bit more edge compared to like something like DeFi, I think.
In terms of new users, at least from the point of view of investment, the overwhelming majority of investors in the Solana ecosystem are proprietary firms. That is, firms that are managing their own money, and those are probably people who have made money on Bitcoin and the Ethereum ecosystem. And in terms of tutorials and stuff, what I would like to see as an investor, and I'm sure retail agrees, are more disclosures from projects. So we expect to see several disclosures from an Apple, right? So, which is a huge project and a public company. So why not projects which are huge? They're worth sometimes billions of dollars. Why shouldn't we see disclosures, for example, how much they have in a bank, number of employees, how much are they spending, etc.
Yeah. To add on that point, one of the challenges I see with the SAFs and kind of this token-based funding mechanism is a lack of proper corporate governance. And it's a concept that's not really, shared, in crypto. You kind of, you entrust, a lot of power to the founder and the team, right? Especially right now, I don't know about you guys, but we've been sending projects USDC, like ERC20. So I think we need a good SPL solution, multi-sig wallet. All right, I want to start sending cheaper USDC over. But yeah, I think corporate governance going forward is a theme that if you really want to build a successful long-term project, I think there's got to be a little bit more governance kind of structure for early VCs who are shaping and guiding the companies. Right?
Awesome. I'd love to, in the last few minutes that we have here, talk about something that you guys brought up, like those net new projects that are being built in the Solana ecosystem because of the infrastructure benefits that Solana offers in comparison to other layer ones. So we start with you. What kind of things are you seeing maybe on the social side, the gaming side, anything that is really lending itself to the infrastructure Solana provides?
Yeah, in terms of infrastructure, I'm not completely sure, but social tokens, obviously, we have like only one, and we've been supporting them a lot through like their creator program. And I think there is new onboarding happening there, but it's a little bit slower than what we might have expected. Like NFTs, gaming, Nyan Heroes, obviously like they're incredible NFT drops, big wealth generation events for some people. And yeah, I would just say like NFTs have been above other things, like huge onboarding for retail for us. Yeah.
Internally, we classify projects DeFi, NFT, gaming, and Web3. And in the initial part of the year, and in the initial part of Solana, like launch and growth, we saw a lot of DeFi and NFT, the first two buckets. And those were projects that were many times copies of Ethereum projects or improvements. And now we're seeing the second phase, let's say, a bunch of gaming and Web3. And you saw Raj here talking about how he got banned. So certainly a decentralized social network is a must. A lot of people are doing that now. And of course, gaming too. You have some games on Ethereum, but of course, paying $50 per transaction is completely unusable. So certainly, we're already seeing gaming porting to Solana, and we're going to see new games. I'm also excited, for example, FTX and others are investing together with the classical gaming companies And we see, for example, Epic from Fortnite, they're starting to give grants to some projects, which is very interesting and exciting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people actually do understand the infrastructure benefits coming from using Solana. And I think that started out with Solana Summer, NFTs sucked in all the liquidity out of all the other ecosystem, and also the new retail investors, and that money is being now ready to be used for Solana DeFi wave. But other than that, a lot of the DeFi builders now on Solana ecosystem that we encounter and we face, they come from traditional banking side, but the crazy ideas they want to realize is only available is available with Solana's infrastructure benefits like cheaper gas and faster transaction speed. But so that makes sense for DeFi a lot. But for gaming side, I think setting aside the infrastructure benefits, what we encounter a lot is people are just so into just making play to earn models, but they don't really think about sometimes they don't have in-house gaming studio or gaming PDs who actually could design and do a proper architecture for the whole game. And we've been passing a lot of gaming deals just because of that, because in order to make blockchain gaming games, real proper games, it has to be the games that you want to play, and it's the games that your friends want to play, right? So I think so infrastructure benefits are there, but if you're building something, it doesn't necessarily mean that cheaper gas is just gonna attract the new users and just gonna ship your product global. It's gonna if it's gaming, it has to be the good games. If it's DeFi, it's got to be properly designed. And if you're coming from TradFi and want to adopt the crazy ideas, Solana is a great place to do. So just think of take into account of all these variables, and then try to mold your project according to all those infrastructure benefits is really, really important. And also talk a lot with the Solana Foundation devs is also very important. Solana Labs is all out there with advocacy groups, so use Discord a lot, just try to engage a lot. I think that's the key for actually utilizing the maximum out of the infrastructure benefits.
One example I'll give, one of our portfolio companies, GenoPets, the founder, Albert Chen, Taiwanese American, he was Solana first, right? He was in EOS and then, decided to build on Solana for all of its unique characteristics. It's a move to earn game, and your pet kind of evolves based on your personal biometric data, right? So there's a lot of kind of real-time transaction that needs to take place, and this is really the perfect environment for that, right? So that's just one example that I think, and many will come, and I do think in our jurisdiction in Taiwan, it kind of serves as a nice hub in Asia. You've got access to Korea, Japan, and then also Southeast Asia, and now Taiwan is still a Mandarin-speaking country. It certainly could help kind of propagate that Mandarin-speaking market.
Right. We also invested in GenoPets out of Solana Ventures, and one thing that got me super excited about them, obviously their background, Albert's an awesome guy, and the idea of composable NFTs on Solana really got me super excited. So for context, as you move to earn, you level up your character. Those pieces that you put on top of them also become a part of that NFT and therefore increase the value. So I'm really excited to see innovation in that area, and I think we're just on the cusp of all of that. So with our last 2 minutes, I would love to just walk through and just get high-level feedback from each of you with your specific jurisdiction of where you're located. What's the largest piece of feedback that you think the Solana ecosystem needs right now, and that the Solana ecosystem is getting right now based on what's there? Is it developer tooling related? Is it things like we discussed with those blueprints for getting people net new into the Solana ecosystem? And how is that different between where each of you are located?
Yeah, I know someone briefly mentioned the disclosures. I think could be a lot better in terms of the token investing schedules, what previous rounds raised that at VCs, what the sizing was, just so everyone at the public private levels is a lot more clear. The only other suggestion I have for Solana in terms of the bridge is that we should give some people some soul when they bridge and use Wormhole, because compared to all the other bridges, I used another bridge yesterday, but I think that one aspect can really make the quality of life so much better. Yeah.
I would say take advantage of this bull market to raise money because we don't know the future, and this is the biggest bull market in history. And it's also Solana gives you the opportunity to decentralize things that weren't possible with Ethereum and others. So it's a huge opportunity on social, on gaming, on all sectors.
I mean, if it's the feedback that we could give to like Solana Ventures or Solana like ecosystem as a whole, like foundation, then like please like to provide more community support in terms of like language assistance and also like developer like cultivation as well, because a lot of people are like when they encounter when they encounter the difficulties, sometimes they just stop because of the language hurdles. So like that could be one thing that you could also like put a lot of efforts on and like collaborate with regional players like us who can actually speak both languages fluently.
Yeah, I would suggest we need more tools. Even a multi-sig solution for Solana would be awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Sorry, we're over time. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.